Before we go too deeply into GitHub itself, we should first talk about GitHub and set some context by talking about some of the value of GitHub and some of the offerings provided by GitHub. And to start off, we should first think of GitHub as a way for people to build software. GitHub was founded in 2007 with a small group of people who used GitHub as a way to host Git online. Git itself is a source control provider, a way for you to control code, allow people from many different organizations and departments to contribute to your code. But setting up a Git server, maybe giving people access to the Git server on your local machine may be difficult. So GitHub was essentially Git as a service. It allowed you to use Git, but in a distributed way via a hosted website, github.com. And so people can check in code, people can clone your repositories, they can go out and get your code, look at it, contribute to it. And then over time, Git kind of evolved into a much bigger platform where people are doing more than just coding on Git. They were hosting websites, they're hosting documentation, projects, they're building books on GitHub. A whole open source community opened up around GitHub, and it became a way to essentially manage your projects as a service, to build a community around your projects, and then to enforce best practices. Allow other people to contribute to your projects while still enforcing whatever rules your organization may have. The easiest way to understand where GitHub is today compared to where it was in the past, or how it's grown, the value proposition, is to look at the state of the Octaverse. Now, the state of Octaverse is a report that comes out annually, and essentially just lets you know where GitHub is today and where it has grown and some of the changes and trends over time. And I wanted to point out a couple interesting things here very briefly. First, GitHub today has 24 million users, 1.5 million organizations, and 67 million projects. Now, you saw me quote 70 million projects in a slide earlier. That's because when the state of Octaverse was delivered in around fall 2017, it was 67 million. When this was recorded in 2018, it was 70 plus million. So this number is growing constantly. And the easiest way to think of a repository is an individual project. So we have more than 70 million projects in GitHub. There are 1 billion commits in the last year. Now, that's a crazy number to think about, but a commit is really a change, and there have been 1 billion changes over the last year, and 25.5 million projects or repositories have been active over the last year. So a large number of that 70 million are still very active. Of the most active repositories, Microsoft's Visual Studio Code repository stands at the top. And this just shows you Microsoft has been involved with GitHub, using a lot of projects on GitHub, and very serious about the amount of work and effort they're doing in GitHub. And right here you can see Visual Studio Code is the most active project, with 15,000 people contributing to Visual Studio Code to make it better every day. This beats out Facebook, this beats out Node, this beats out Google and Angular, this beats out Docker and Ansible. All very big projects. And this just tells you the scope that these projects live at in the sense of GitHub. GitHub Enterprise, which is the same thing as GitHub, but just an enterprise flavor with more features that you can deploy within a company. GitHub Enterprise has a presence in 45% of the companies in the Fortune 100 and 52% of companies in the Fortune 50. And that just tells you that a lot of companies run their day-to-day operations on GitHub. And it's not just for software. GitHub is used primarily for software, but we're starting to see it used a lot in education, entertainment, financial and business sectors, being used for more than just code, used with documentations, to build websites, to build books, to collaborate on projects that are not necessarily developer-centric. GitHub has grown in its usage. And there's one more thing I want to point out to you as a Microsoft Certified Trainer, or any other type of trainer. GitHub is where students flock. 48% of the new users in GitHub identified themselves as a student as opposed to a hobbyist or professional. This is a striking number. This means that students are on GitHub for one reason or another. Maybe they're looking at other projects. Maybe they're contributing to code as part of their classwork. But students are on GitHub, and as a trainer, you may want to reach your students where they're at, as opposed to trying to convince them to come to another platform. So it's really interesting time to learn about GitHub and invest in GitHub as a platform.